Baruch Atah Adonai
Baruch Hu Baruch Shema.
Eloheinu Eloheinu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Eloheinu Chassadim Tovim Yaakov V'Zecheh Chasdei Yaakov V'Smivi Gali Bnei Bnei Mamash Mevi Yaakov Melech Yisrael Mashiach Malkim Baruch Atah Adonai
Baruch Hu Baruch Shema.
Magin Abraham
Amen.
Atah Giber Adonai Mechayim Misim Atah Rab Yishiach Mashiach Ruach Midagashem Mechalkel Chaim Chassid Mechayim Misim Brachim Davim V'Mechnefim V'Reketim Matzim Chaim Nosel V'Shafar Milcham V'Chavag Grace Midim Lach Melech Misim Mechayim Tzmiach Yeshua V'Ne'eman Atah Lafis Misim Baruch Atah
Baruch Hu Baruch Shema.
Amen.
Mincha Maariv K'niyam Siach Tzayta V'Kodesh Mashal Shemach Kedusha V'Kasiyah Nimecha V'Kodesh Zozayam.
Mincha Maariv K'niyam Siach Tzayta V'Kodesh Mashal Shemach Kedusha V'Kasiyah Nimecha V'Kodesh Zozayam.
Kodesh 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 Adonai Tzvayis Mechal Aretz V'Kodesh.
Kodesh 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 Adonai Tzvayis Mechal Aretz V'Kodesh. V'Amos Hamshachem Dermir.
Baruch Adonai K'mai.
Baruch Adonai K'mai. U'Divrei Kodesh V'Kosov Leimar.
Yimlech Adonai Adonai Tzin L'Dei V'Dai. Hallelujah. Baruch Hu Baruch Shema. Amen. 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 Baruch Hu Baruch Shema. Amen.
ולשבסינו ועשינו סללותיו, ברוך אתה אדינו
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemai.
שמך ולפניו
Amen.
שלום טבע וברכה חיים כן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ונשמחו ברכנו אבינו כולנו כבוד ובנחל כי בבנחל נשאת לנו אדוני אלוהינו פרס חיים וארץ ברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום טבע נחל וברך סמכתו בכל ישראל כל שעה בשלמך ברוך אתה אדינו
Baruch Hu Baruch Shemai.
ברך את עם ישראל בשלום
Amen.
Skala viskala shmira bo.
Amen. 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 Yesh mi Rabba Baruch Yalom Mimai Yisparei. Amen.
Mincha Maariv.
Amen. Amen. Yesh mi Rabba Baruch Yalom Mimai Yisparei. Amen. 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 Shaya Zeshayin Kisavai. Noveitave Sobar. Noveitave Yakum Kima. Vani Aspa. Vani Asisi. Vani Asa. Vani Yamalek. Akalik. Shava Yisharas Panecha. Either by the metal of the Shagla Shakas, the term the Shah, then a cabbage of the Halitzim, after the Karim Kishis, before my year with Eva, Mach, Hachimus on the Mountain Ara, I made the home baby, my Kavan, Shavalaga to Ethnaga. With that case, as you saw, do a here, but then it's a Shneva, the Never Smarted guy, Yag the Tide of Yadi. Amen. 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 Yesh mi Rabba Baruch Yalom Mimai Yisparei. Amen. 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 We have a special honor today of having with us Dr. David Manella, who recently moved to the area. He's a cardiologist, and the past few days we've been learning about Talmud Chacham and how we're supposed to act on Chacham. Now, Dr. Manella is not just a doctor, but he's also a Talmud Chacham. So Dr. is going to share with us a few words. He just opened our practice over here in right over the tracks. In
No.
all right.
Well, there's a lot to be done with prevention. You're right. Sure. Like I said, people tend to see cardiology way too late.
You're right. You know what? You're right. Yeah, we should tell him that's a good point.
Okay, Shalom Aleichem. My wife and I, we moved here a year ago. We opened up a practice in cardiology, internal medicine, and a subspecialty called the electrophysiology. And I've been practicing medicine for the last 20 years, and we now have 3,000 square feet across the tracks. and we're trying to do a chesed and help the community members. And for anyone that needs a doctor, like you were saying, it's not just going to see a doctor after you already did the chet. You should go see the Rav before and to understand what a chet is. But the same logic can be for a doctor. People need to know what it means to be heart healthy and healthy in general, because too often you see your doctor, you see your specialist a little bit too late. And Hashem, a long time to get on top of your health and fully engage what you're supposed to do. I tell a lot of people that medicine and Yiddishkeit really go hand in hand. It's the same in Yanim, it's the same mahalach you have to take. It's the same idea of Gedarab and Asiyad and Takanas. There are things that you have to establish for yourself. And the Chazal was so smart when they set up Takanas, because they understood the predilection of human behavior. And you have to set things up early on so that you're never yichshol. And the same thing can be said for medicine. So I'll start with a word with regards to the parashiyos that are coming up, with regards to Noach and Avram Avinu. The Sfarim explain that there are obviously differences between Noach and Avram. And even though Noach ish tzadik tam hayu b'deraisa, nevertheless, in some ways he wasn't like Avram Avinu. Why is that? You see that though the Torah never ever describes anyone else with the lashonos of ish tzadik tam hayu b'deraisa, such beautiful lashonos, yet at the end of the parsha we find that Noach planted a vineyard, and on some level inebriated and intoxicated, and an unfortunate thing happened where he was a little bit embarrassed. His children have to cover up. You know the whole story. But he went from godless at the beginning of the parsha to a situation in the story where perhaps it doesn't simulate the same godless, but perhaps even more. How could he have gone from there to there? We understand that Noach was an obedient person. Noach listened to the words of Hashem in a generation when nobody did. His obedience was so stellar that despite the hundreds of years it took him to build the table, he didn't give up. Word of Hashem. The problem was that for as much as he was makbid on doing the word of Hashem, he didn't encourage and influence the people around him. For all that time he used to invent the hammer and then use the hammer to make the teva, he could have also spent some time to try to be makarev the people who are far away. We know that. Chabad works on that. One of the most important things is not just working on yourself, but what you can do for other people. To the extent went off. And finally, when the novel was over, so he said there's a series of psukim that goes on for a number of psukim. He sends out the raven and then the dove, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The Gemara says that if I was there at the time of Noach, I would have just kicked open the doors and left. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have to actually say, Noach, that's a strange sight. It's time to leave the teva and start working the world. But he was so obedient that he couldn't just think on his own. What is the next step? The obedience was to the nth degree, and that can sometimes be a problem when you're not thinking too much ahead, or you're not taking the next step and thinking of other people. Sometimes too focused on just one thing blinds you, and you don't have the foresight to understand where perhaps the road you're taking may eventually lead to something else. And we could juxtapose that to Avram Avinu. By Avram, it says in Parshas Hayera that Vayita Eshav hotel, Achila Shasi Lavia, that's what the acronym stands for. And then afterwards, the Medrash brings down a pasuk that it says Hashem Tzadik Yivachem V'Rasha V'Yikom Tzadasha. The Kadosh Baruch Hu loves a tzaddik. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tests a tzaddik and loves a rasha. And who is a tzaddik? Avram Avinu. There's a question in that pasuk. You don't test a tzaddik and hate the rasha. You love a tzaddik and hate the rasha. Brings down, and you see from Avram Avinu, from Vayita Eshava in the Be'er Sheva, he epitomized the kindness among people. We know that as Avram Avinu davened for Hashem for Sodom and putting together all the different acts of kindness he did for the Three Malachim and everything else. You see, he embodied that. He didn't just embody one aspect of Yiddishkeit. He didn't get too fixated and too obsessive on just one thing that defines who he is. He also did the Akedah Sit. And it was a sign of balance. He did everything. He didn't just fixate on one, and therefore Avram Avinu went to further step, because it wasn't just fixation, it wasn't just obedience. He had the foresight to see everything, and that's why Hashem Tzadik Yivachem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tested at Tzadik Avram Avinu so that you should see the balance. Therefore, a rasha who's Ra Shemayim, or maybe good among men, or Ayiv Hamas, bad among men but good to Shemayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates. You can't pick and choose. It says in Mishlei, "Nechasi Pesha Mo Yirachim." You can't cover up some things by doing some other things. There's got to be a balance in everything you do. Perhaps according to some shikha, there was a deficit in terms of the balance of both obedience and doing chesed for others, whereas Avram had that balance. If we were to now take that message of balance, not being too fixated on one thing and seeing the bigger picture, that's really like with health. If you want to understand, if I can put it in a nugget as to what will really secure your health for the years to come, it's a little bit of everything. In science, they discuss what's called a circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm means a biological clock. There's a time for day and there's a time of night. And it has to be balanced. When the sun goes down and the retina in the back of your eye sees that there's no light, there are photoreceptors that get activated that send a signal to the pineal gland in the heart of the brain called melatonin. Melatonin is a strong antioxidant that cleans up the body and induces sleep, and it's released at night. But if you then start to eat late at night and do other things that make the brain think that it's daytime, the brain doesn't understand what's going on. It's a day, it's a night, it's mixed up. But just like with everything that we need to do in our behaviors, just balance, you also have to establish for your own body a sense of day and night, of balance. Otherwise, the hormones do get mixed up. Melatonin is a chemical, cortisol is a hormone that's released that day. If you start to get into fights and you start eating late at night, the brain starts to release cortisol. You don't want norepinephrine. You don't want cortisol being released at night. You're not going to sleep well. You're not going to enter the deep stages of sleep, REM sleep. And if you don't do that, eventually you're going to go on to gain weight and develop high blood pressure, and then eventually end up in the cardiology office. If there's anything we take away from the way Chazal structured Yiddishkeit and from what we come in from the Avos is balance. A Yid has to go, no matter how busy you are in business, you have to daven 3 times a day, and you have to make sure and plan the day so you have something kosher to eat, and you can't just zoom out of the house and not really think of how you're going to plan the day. If anything, between the 3 times you have to daven, and whether or not you're going to pack yourself hamaitzi, and then you're going to have to figure out where to wash, and whether or not you're going to have hesach hadas when you eat something on the quick and on the go. You actually have to plan your day so appropriately, and even something as subtle as brachas could be. If you're hopping a food and running this way, and you have hesach hadas, and you have to make the shahakol again, what do you do? This, that. Sometimes the laws are so intricate to say, slow down, wait a second, maintain balance, understand how your day is supposed to be structured. Don't overdo it. Don't confuse your body. Don't confuse day and night. And I think if we take that message and we internalize it, you can get both a heart healthy lifestyle, and you can probably also serve in the way of Hashem and just expect in the way of.
That's how we need to stay up at night. Help us stay up.
Yeah, but you think you shouldn't go to sleep? You shouldn't sleep.
No, no.
No, except it's right.
Yeah.
Blue light can affect the diminish the production of melatonin. That's why at night you shouldn't be playing on the night.
Normal lights, light.
Blue light. It comes from the television and the iPhone.
And Androids also.
Androids.
All right, Meir, page 118, name on Meir. That's it, you want that Meir? Meir? Okay, Meir, page 118. Adi.
Palma como me puso en Nango. ما في يوم ما في لا يوم دي بنيان ولا لا تنسى شو بوقتها ناي ما غير بواب من كم خيال لو كمان لا لا بوقتها ناي لا إله إلا الله من أقول ذا ما بنام ذا ينسي الخوص قبل كل علامة شو يسال أنا بشر خراب ومقلا لا يصير الخوص هو من ما يشتري من أبوه من ما في فاضل أنا بكلمات هذا من بوقتنا قال يصير cada vez cada se me va debajo se va cada vez que me se la vaya me cada vez estaba muy claro soy mi business sabe هو لا يعني كل خاص بشغل خاصنا خاصنا بالما Vizcar שמי רבו, ועלמד וחוסה במחוסה וספקנה כמשי חי, וחיי יחנו במית ומחלת הפולסר בוגרת מקרבים ומי Ay, se llora, mi hermano, se llora, Mariano, por el salmo, amén. ונאמר ועדנה מלך הכלאות, ואם היזן חדש מאחר.
Canal, mi canal, yo grababa, además de una que lo tuve, una que tuve, además porque mi canal me dijo, hay cono, que hay de Paul de Israel, Bagalá, Bisman Caribe, pero amén. Y lo haré, mi estaba, mi padre, mi román, mi nacer, mi tatar, mi tal, mi talar, mi sueño, mi chabri, mi corre catar, mi shiratar, mi catar, mi matar, mi rambe, alma, mi pero amén. Esta marraba mi ismaya, Caín, Caín, Malay, alcohol Israel, mi pero amén. Se llama mi mamá, voy a ser Malay, alcohol Israel, mi pero amén.
Ahora,
גדל והתקדש מרבה. אני רק נותן ואמרים ואחותי ואזמח וקנה וגרמי שכן. ויקול וקנית לכל בית ישראל והגלה וזמן קדי ומלוא אמן. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ורחם ונשא ותדל ותדל שמי לקודשה ברית. ויקול וקטע ושיטתה וקטע ונקמתה אמירה בעלמה ומלוא אמן. על כל תלמידי תלמידיון. כל מן דעסקין ברייתא דיבתנה בדיב וכל אדם יהיה להונלכו אשכם הרבה גינה וגיסא ורחם מן הריחין ומזונה רביקה ופולקנה מן תודה מרמון דבישמעיה ומלוא אמן אשכם הרבה מישמעיה וקיים קיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ומלוא אמן ושלשם נאמר וישלם עלינו ועל כל ישראל ומלוא אמן
tonight, going to be a class, about to be a class on the parsha, stories on the parsha. Good. Always super interesting. Right now. Yeah. Now this is on the back right here.
Gracias.